Good morning and welcome. I'm Marge, a Unity in Lynnwood prayer chaplain, and I'm happy to welcome all of you here this morning for our time of silent meditation. Whether you're here in our chancel or in our virtual community. Since this is Father's Day, this meditation time is also a chance to bless fathers who have been important in our lives. We cherish this sacred time on Sunday as we come together to share the powerful frequency of meditation. So I invite you to settle with comfort into your chairs or wherever you are sitting. Take several deep breaths and let them out with a sigh. And close your outer eyes if you feel comfortable doing that. Drop your breath down into your heart and slow your breathing. Just rest. And let your heart fill with quiet joy. There is nothing you have to do right now. Nothing you have to plan or be responsible for. In these sacred minutes, it's just your time of nourishment, your time to become refreshed. As you close your outer eyes, let Spirit nurture you as you go into the silence. Gently bring yourselves back into this physical space. Breathe deeply as you gently open your outer eyes. Embrace the knowing that you are on the path of light, even when you cannot see your way. Trust that God is opening the way before you and bathing you in light. And please join me as we bless Jennifer and Matthew and all our other musicians and the richness they bring to our service. And we also bless all the many people who contribute to the creation of this time together. And we carry that blessing to ourselves, whom we often forget, wherever we are. And so it is.
Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the sweetest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Everything I've ever done, everything I've ever seen, everything I've lost or won, everything I've ever dreamed has brought me here to the present moment, here to a new beginning, here, and I'm seeing life so clearly now. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul.
Good morning, Unity in Lynnwood. To begin, let's enjoy a little peace together. Just a couple of slow, deep breaths can bring peace to the body. This is the simple practice of personal peace. It's really very easy. This simple practice is a foundation for personal wellness, for healing, for world peace. Let's make peace together this morning, and I'm hoping my words can speak for you. In this peace-filled moment, I honor myself, my companions present here today, and everyone I hold in my heart and my mind. We are individual co-creators within the source of all creation. As I practice peace, even briefly, I detach from busyness. I release things weighing on my mind and my heart, and I allow peace to fill me, like changing a channel. And I remember peace is always right here. As peace fills me now, I find a higher perspective and a renewed energy. In peace, I rest from my temptations to struggle with what is. I know, on a level beyond my limited understanding, that things are unfolding as they should. It's not my assignment to fix the world. It is my gift and my opportunity to choose my relationship with what is. In this moment, I choose the response that empowers me, that empowers others. I choose peace, and here lies freedom. I am grateful for my freedom from circumstances and my freedom to choose peace. As I lean into peace, I give myself and I give the world a great gift. And so it is.
Here I go, deeper, deeper, deeper than I've ever been before. Here I go, closer, closer, closer to my sacred source. Here I go, deeper, deeper, deeper than I've ever we will rise and welcome our youth. Or maybe not rise, I don't know. Sorry.
Feel free to rise.
You are the light, you are the light, you are the light in this world. You are the light, you are the light, you are the light in this world. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine so bright. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine so bright.
Good morning. Happy Father's Day. Happy Pride Month. Happy Youth Sunday. I have the honor this morning of introducing you to someone super special, Ian Silvers. You may remember Ian from a poem they wrote and shared with us about a year ago. They are a talented and inspirational author who has written and published 2 books so far. Ian's books also just happen to be illustrated by their immensely talented sister, Felicity. Ian's latest book is titled Theater Tales from a Newbie, and I'm excited to bring Ian up to the platform to share a segment from the book with you now.
This is my book called Theater Tales from a Newbie. It's inspired by my experiences in theater. The main character explores their gender identity and finds acceptance and community in theater, but also in a church a lot like Unity in Lynnwood. Here's a part of the book. All are welcome here, the speaker said again with a grin. You may be thinking, does that include me? Well, it does. You are welcome, and you, and you. With my newfound change, it seemed even nicer than before. I couldn't believe that no matter what gender I was, I would be accepted. It was a great feeling. Readers will learn just how important acceptance is. Here's another part. At the dinner table, my dad kept giving me strange looks until my mom thought it was so awkward, she just had to ask what was up. I'm just wondering where our son went, he grumbled. I'm right here, I yelled. I'm still your child. My dad sighed and gave me a hug. I'm sorry I've been a little confused and angry. Nothing was like this when I was a kid, but I'm fine with you being you. Just tell me what pronouns you want to use. That made me so happy. If I could, I would get a tattoo of that on my arm or right on the wall of our auditorium, or maybe in the choir room. As I was saying, I felt fantastic to hear that my dad was also supportive now. I can be me and be free. You can also use the they, them ones. I copied Lily's so happy I'm surprised I'm not crying smile. Don't worry, this part is fiction. Both of my parents have always supported me, and that is my book.
I told Ian I wasn't going to cry, but I'm so proud of you. That was amazing. Both of Ian's books are available for sale in our gift shop, and today you can get your personal copy signed by both Ian and Felicity in Friendship Hall after the service. So for some other youth and family news, we have several upcoming camps this summer that I want you to be aware about. Kids Camp is July 1 through 4. And we're still taking registrations for this, so there's still time, but it's coming soon. Activities include large group fun shops, small family groups, singing, meditation, swimming. There's even a big slide I hear, water slide, walking, games. It's a lot of fun. So if you would like to register a UniKid ages 7 to 11, now's the time. We also have a high school camp coming up July 22nd to 25 called Rendezvous. I'm taking registrations for that right now. And all of our middle schoolers have a camp, Unitreat, August 21 through 26 in Oregon. So please contact me for more information on any or all of these. And our youth have planned and are preparing an amazing hospitality for you in Friendships Hall after the service. 100% of your donations goes to these kids to help send them to camps and our local events like lock-ins and escape rooms and all of the fun things we do throughout the year. So we are truly blessed by all your support. We thank you, and we hope to see you all after the service. Would you please rise as you are able and join me in blessing our youth? You are the light of love in this world. You are the light of kindness in this world. Let it shine so bright.
All right, if you'd stay standing, now's the time that we'll greet each other. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light in this world. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light in this world. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine so bright. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine so bright. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light in this world. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light in this world. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine so bright. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine so bright.
I think it's about time for us to take our seats again, break up all this fun, take all the love with us right back to our very own seats. It is so good to see all of you this morning. Those of you who are right here, I can see with my eyeballs, and those of you who I'm seeing with my heart, who are joining us virtually. We're so pleased to have everyone here today. I'll have to say my happy Father's Day as well. As you know, this is Father's Day in the United States of America, and I was surprised to learn that Father's Day is celebrated in 111 countries around the world. I just hadn't known that. And I think it really tells us that we need our father figures who symbolize protection and wisdom and guidance and support and reassurance. On these somewhat scripted special days, I always feel a little protective of those whose lived experience is not the hallmark variety. Not all people know or knew their fathers. Some fathers were more harsh than kind. Some were present and then disappeared. There are so many, many ways our relationships with father can get complicated, just as with mother. I've decided that Father's Day is an excellent day to honor all the people in our lives, male or female, who provide or have provided those special qualities of wisdom, guidance, support, reassurance to us when we've needed them. We can also acknowledge times when we may have given those things to others and look for opportunities to do that. And finally, from a spiritual perspective, through the practice of personal peace, we can celebrate the power of presence, which opens a door to wisdom, guidance, reassurance within each human heart and mind, whenever we allow. Today, I celebrate all of that. I want you to know, especially if you are rather new to Unity in Lynnwood, that you are indeed welcome here. And Ian did it so well. I mean, you and you and you. One idea that is very important to us here is the idea of human dignity, and I think of it as a spiritual law, the belief we share that there is a spark of divinity in each human heart. We honor each person here for who they are. We do not expect you to be like someone else. Navigating differences, as you are well aware, is creating a lot of friction in the world these days. At Unity in Lynnwood, we don't put people in boxes. Sometimes it feels as if life is filled with boxes. I know you've all been asked to fill out forms with lots of boxes, and we have to check things like religion and race and gender and sexual identity and age and national origin, and it goes on and on. We don't have boxes here. Especially during Pride Month, we affirm that we are an open and inclusive community. Each person is seen as unique and equally endowed with an essence of goodness that is every person's birthright. Period. End of sentence. You don't find dogma, doctrine, or scripted beliefs here either. What you will hear is an invitation to find and practice your own particular ways of exploring and claiming your unique gifts. Our orientation is not conformity, but growth. We tend to be far more motivated by dreams than deficiencies. In other words, there's nothing wrong with you, and if you are not yet perfect, well, you're still alive. That's good news. You are a divine creation as you are, and we want you to explore what that means with us. You will hear us talking about growing consciousness. This week I read growing in consciousness is the ultimate self-care. I also heard it suggested that because the world has grown so complex, growing in consciousness can really no longer be done all alone. We need one another's knowledge and experience to grow a grand enough worldview to move us into our next phase of being human. That's an exciting idea. We are outgrowing rugged individualism, no matter how much of that has shaped our experience to this point. Spiritual community feels a very real need in this scenario, and we welcome you into ours. Whether you are here with us for the first time today or an original founder, and I see a few, we are happy to have you here, and we thank you for the gift of your presence. If you can stay after service, please join us across the hall in the Friendship Hall for coffee. Well, we've already received a grand invitation because the youth are hosting us, so I hope to see all of you there. As we visit, it's a chance to make a new friend and to learn from another person's journey.
Thank you, Linda. So next week, I will be joined by Jennifer Bundy on piano, but today it is my great honor to welcome Unity in Lynnwood's very own Amanda Birdsall.
I tried so hard to be the person everybody thought I was. I pushed myself and everyone almost over the edge. This mirrored light that sends back everything that you send out, the grace you give, giving back, loving every minute you live. Feels so good to be warm in the sun, loving every minute of living. So good to be warm in the sun, loving every minute of living. The evil deeds that we do, screaming from the headline, can't stop to read or to watch, 'cause I ain't got the patience or time to live a life of despair. open in your hands to live the life you want while you're here. Oh, feels so good to be warm in the sun, loving every minute of living. So good to be warm in the sun, loving every minute of living. I don't care what you say to me. Everywhere, beauty is all I see. And it don't make it 'cause there ain't nothing to take from me. And I'm loving every minute, I'm loving every minute, I'm free. Feels so good to be warm in the sun, loving every minute of living. It's so good to be warm in the sun, loving every minute of living. Good to be warm in the sun, loving every minute of living. Good to be warm in the sun, loving every minute of living. Good to be warm in the sun, loving every minute of living.
Right.
Amanda. And I now have the privilege and the honor of introducing our guest, speaker, and minister today. We have a lot of talent among us. I'm introducing Dr. Jennifer Lovejoy, who happens to be a lifelong student of metaphysics and New Thought. Jennifer was raised in the Christian Science Church and has been involved with Unity for nearly 30 years. She was ordained in a non-denominational Christian ministry in 1999, fulfilling a long-standing interest in spiritual healing and counseling, and she also holds a PhD in biopsychology from Emory University. Jennifer has been part of the Unity in Lynnwood community since the year 2003 and has been actively involved in the music ministry, the adult ministry, adult education, and small group ministry. She currently serves as chair of the Board of Trustees. Please welcome Dr. Jennifer Lovejoy.
Good morning. Thank you, Linda. And it's so good to be here in this capacity and to welcome everyone. So as a reminder, for those of you who didn't hear, Dr. Richard is on sabbatical through the end of June, and he is taking a deep dive into some ideas, some concepts, and we'll come back. I grew up in an academic family, so my father took several sabbaticals as a university professor, and I realize it may not be a familiar term to people who don't have that background. A sabbatical is not a vacation. I watched my father work way, way harder on his sabbaticals, trying to get a lot of things done in a short time. So it's really more of an opportunity to step away from the day-to-day, from managing the church and dealing with all the administrative stuff, to really, really deepen his spirituality. So we are so grateful, and we send him our love and our appreciation for everything that he does, and really wish him all the best on this time. So, welcome everyone. I get to do the welcome this morning. Everyone here, everyone online. And if you are online, it looks like people have already started putting their names there. We've got Tyler in Eatonville. Hello, Tyler. Tyler's a member of our Monday night study group. Dale, Welaine, Dallery, Ursula, and I'm sure many more. So I believe we're going to be saying hello to our online folks. If you will turn towards that camera and our beautiful Fran and just say, "We see you. We see you. We welcome you. We welcome you. And we love you." And we love you. Thank you very much. So, and again, just so blessed to be here with all of you, our wonderful musicians, Amanda Birdsall and the UIL band, and Ian Silvers. Whoo! What an amazing kid, and what proud parents, I know. Really, really just remarkable. So a couple things before we get started. We will look for prayer time. I think we have a slide coming up, if I'm not mistaken. There we go. If you would like prayer online, you can send an email to prayer@unityinlynnwood.org. If you are here in the sanctuary, you can come up to the front of the sanctuary, and one of our prayer chaplains will be happy to meet with you after the service. And I would ask the prayer chaplains in service today if you would stand or wave so we know who you are. All right. Marge and Ann. So either way, if you're here, come up and get prayer. Give yourself that gift. If you're online, send an email and you will get a call a few hours after the service. And just a couple of quick announcements. So we've talked about prayer. I did want to let everyone know that we will be having a memorial service, a celebration of life for our wonderful friend Byron Reaney, who passed away a few weeks ago. It will be here on July 8th at 2 p.m., and everyone is welcome. This is not a closed service. If you knew Byron and if you want to come and celebrate his life on that day, please do plan to show up on the 8th at 2 o'clock. So every week we talk about our mission, and we have a succinct mission that I will get to expand on a little bit today. Practical spirituality, welcoming community. And that is something that is really central to what we believe here at Unity in Lynnwood and what we practice here at Unity in Lynnwood. And every week we have we support this brief mission statement with one of the longer statements that the Board of Trustees in 2014 came up with to really flesh out what we mean by practical spirituality and welcoming community. And today we're going to look at statement number 2, if we can have that. There we go. We seek to discover and share spiritual practices which are repeatable and reliable, and to infuse these spiritual practices into every area of our daily living. How does that sound? Good. Okay. So it's time now for our invocation. We do this also every Sunday to help ground us in the reality that everything is all right and so much bigger than what we see with these human eyes. So feel free to read along with me, to take the words in silently, or however you choose to interact with this. We believe, though imaged and named variously, there is a singular and eternal ground of being from which all life emanates and into which all life retreats. We choose to call this ground of being God. By extension, we come to understand that we are spiritual in nature, human in expression, and limitless in potential. We gather today to remember such truths, to celebrate our unity, and to honor all life. So as I said, I'm going to be doing a little bit of a deep dive into practical spirituality, perhaps in a slightly different way than you might have thought about it. And this is going to be a 2-week series. Today I'm going to talk about healing, and next week I'm going to talk about prosperity, 2 very foundational principles in the unity movement. And so when we think about practical spirituality, I think a lot of time we do believe what Linda said in the opening, that these are practices that we can repeat in our daily lives that ground us in the spiritual consciousness, things that make it real for us. And that's a wonderful definition. And I think we do that, and we're going to talk a little bit more today about some of those practices. But to me, practical spirituality actually is a deeper question. It gets at that question, tension, whatever you want to call it, of the human and the divine. We are human and we are divine. And in the course of this incarnation and all our incarnations, we get to figure out how that works. How do we express that? How do we believe that? And to me, that really is what practical spirituality is. It's taking our divinity and bringing it down into the earthly world, or bringing it up from ourselves into that kind of consciousness. So how do we hold both the transcendent and the immanent at the same time? How do we stay in this body and in this 3D world and all of the things that the human life and humanity brings, and continually remember that we are divine? So that's what I'm going to be talking about a little bit today. I thought I would start, if you'll indulge me a bit, in a little bit of lineage and unity history. I know for many of you this is familiar, and you may have heard this before, but perhaps not everyone is aware. And I think it will also give you some perspective on the uniqueness of the unity teachings, as well as how it really applies to this fundamental question of human and divine. So, back in time to the late 1800s, it was a time when mental healing, mentalism, hypnotism, mesmerism, it went by different names, was very popular. It was something that really was part of the zeitgeist of that time. And so there were a lot of mental healers, there were a lot of people working in that. And it was in the 1860s, 1870s that a woman named Mary Baker Eddy ended up seeing a mental healer named Phineas Quimby as a patient, experienced a healing, realized how much this mental approach actually tied to what she knew from the Bible, in terms of Christian healing and the demonstrations that we read about in the New Testament, and ended up founding the religion Christian Science. And Christian Science was very focused on healing and believed that when individuals were expressing their full spiritual potential, they would be able to heal just as Jesus healed. And so she started that as a healing ministry, trained practitioners. Many thousands of healings were in fact done throughout the course of it. But what's interesting, and I think important about Mary Baker Eddy's teaching, as we look at some of the lineage that came from that, is she emphasized that the spiritual world is the only reality. Everything we see in this world, because it is impermanent, because it is, sin, sickness, death, all of that, well, that can't be God, because God is good. And so it's an illusion. And so that was the teaching that I grew up with. And there are many good things about that teaching. I am so blessed to have grown up in a church where I prayed to Mother, Father, God all the time. The feminine principle of God was woven in, where I learned that I was not born in original sin. I was born as a perfect expression of the divine and here to express that in every way. So there's many wonderful things. And yet, as a child, I struggled a little bit with, well, this stuff seems pretty real to me. I don't know that I can fully get around that this is just an illusion. What does that really mean? So Mary Baker Eddy had her church. She had a student named Emma Curtis Hopkins, who eventually split off and started her own teachings, her own school, as it were, in Chicago to kind of advance those teachings. Emma Curtis Hopkins had a student named Dr. E.B. Weeks. And Dr. E.B. Weeks, as some of you know, is the person who was teaching when the Fillmores, the founders of Unity, went and Myrtle Fillmore heard that statement that changed her life, "I'm a child of God and I don't inherit illness." That was E.B. Weeks, who was trained by Emma Curtis Hopkins, who was trained by Mary Baker Eddy. So in a lot of ways, Unity is sort of the grandchild, if you will, of Christian Science and shares many foundational beliefs. But here's where it's really different. Unity believes that we are triune beings. We are body, mind, and spirit. And while, yes, the spirit is the eternal, that is the reality of us, we also need to work with the body. Here's a quote from Myrtle Fillmore that I think expresses this absolutely beautifully, and it's in regard to healing. She says, "Healing will come through taking the right mental attitude and then getting right down into the body and telling it the truth, capital T, and then following up this treatment daily with sensible and scientific living habits." So there's no distinction in the Fillmore's teaching, and particularly in Myrtle Fillmore's teaching, between you've got to do the spiritual work, you've got to do the mental work, but you also have to do the work in the physical realm. It's all united and it's all together. So this was really, as you can tell, kind of an evolution from a lot of that purely mental, purely spiritual type of healing that was going on in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. So physical healing is still a central portion of Unity, much as it is Christian Science and these other traditions. And I know sometimes people who are new to Unity go, well, I mean, is it really physical healing? What happens? Are you just feeling better? Is it a placebo effect? Well, there are actual physical healings, again, documented physical healings from terminal diseases that people have experienced through this kind of healing prayer. All healing, the Fillmores teach, ultimately come from a shift in consciousness. So it is the consciousness, whether you're working with an external practitioner, whether you're working with your own consciousness, that is ultimately supporting whatever healing you experience. So how do we get to that shift in consciousness? Couple practical ways, and this is not going to be new to anybody here. Meditation and prayer, absolutely central to what we need to do to shift our consciousness, right? Denials and affirmation are, I think, fairly uniquely developed in the Unity tradition. Charles Fillmore talks about denial is the ability to let go of the old, the outworn, the negative attitude, the incorrect belief, also the ability to refuse and reject. So we start with rejecting, we start with acknowledging where we may have an incorrect belief, and we deny that. Affirmation is the ability to accept the newer, the truer, the higher, the more correct attitude and belief, the ability to say yes to the divine. So that's the kind of definition of denials and affirmations that allows us to shift our consciousness. But what I want to talk about is what happens, and I think we all practice that to different degrees, we know what to do, but we may have also experienced that there are times when that doesn't work. When maybe we are looking for a healing, perhaps a physical healing or an emotional healing, and we're doing our denials and affirmations and we're saying our things and we just aren't getting what we want. So as I thought about it, there's sort of three reasons why we may not always get the healing that we're looking for. The first is that perhaps we're not applying what we know or being patient enough, which is my challenge. Now, remember, if you know the story of Myrtle Fillmore's healing from tuberculosis and all her illness, it took her 2 years of daily hours of work with her physical body in meditation. She was a patient woman, but she was committed. She knew, she had the faith that this was possible. And after 2 years, she was indeed completely physically healed from all of her ailments. And she, in her writings, talks about this over and over. She'll say, well, this doesn't happen overnight. Or, of course we had to work on this a long time and things would come up that would appear to contradict the directions we were going, but she stayed with it. She kept working with it. So patience and establishing really a pattern. I wanted to share that, something like meditation and prayer is a habit. It's a habit that we have to build if we're not already in that habit. And sometimes that can be difficult. We know that changing habits and building habits in other parts of our life isn't always easy, but there's a science to it. There's a behavioral science to it that says how you build a habit and what you do, and that is there's got to be a trigger, something that's happening in the world that says, oh, now it's time, and there has to be a reward for the behavior. And I have to confess that for years, I knew how important meditation. I wanted to meditate. I loved meditating, and yet I couldn't get the daily habit down. I would do it for a while, and then something would interfere, and then I wouldn't be doing it again. And so it kind of was playing around, and it wasn't until I read something that Rabbi Ted, our former director of Interfaith Ministries here, had written that said, if you can't meditate any other time, everybody can meditate for a minute before they go to bed and go to sleep at night. And I realized, oh, that's true. I had been trying to meditate in the morning. Well, the morning didn't work for me because I was busy. There were days when I had to start work 2 hours earlier than other days. I had, a kid at home with different things going on. The mornings were just too crazy, and I could never really lock in that habit. But if I said every night, and you only have to start with a couple minutes, you make it easy when you're beginning a habit. Before I went to sleep, there was not a time when I didn't meditate. And now, years I've been doing that, and of course I've extended the period of time that I'm meditating, but I had to figure out how to build that habit. So if any of you have struggled with that or with really, know that there are really ways that you can get around this. Read some of the habit science stuff that's out there, and it's very doable. The second possibility, and this is not a popular possibility, is that a healing is not supposed to happen. A physical healing is not supposed to happen at this time. There is a really interesting scripture from the book of John, chapters 1-4, that I have been really, really meditating and thinking about a lot lately. And it goes like this. As they went along, Jesus and the disciples went along, Jesus saw a man who'd been blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who has sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" So you get the consciousness behind that question. Clearly, in that context, in that culture, their belief was that being born blind was a punishment, that something had gone wrong. Either this man had done something wrong or his parents had done something wrong for this to happen. Unfortunately, I think that consciousness is still very much with us today in different ways, and how I hear it expressed sometimes in New Thought traditions is, well, if you had been thinking correctly, if you'd been doing your affirmations and denials, this wouldn't have happened to you. Maybe you're not spiritual enough, or you need to really work on your game to do this. And it is very harmful to people. I have seen people who are reluctant sometimes to come to church when they are feeling ill or having another problem because of fear of that judgment. So listen to what Jesus says to his disciples. "Neither this man nor his parents sinned," said Jesus, "but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him." And then he did perform a healing on this individual. But if we can shift our perspective to think about healing as being an opportunity for God to show the magnificence of its works in us, whether or not a physical healing occurs, it kind of changes the paradigm a little bit. There's no guilt. There's no, oh, I've done something wrong. Oh, I'm imperfect. It's like, what's trying to manifest here? It changes the questions that we ask. What could this be about? What's my learning? How is my soul developing in this situation that's going on? The artist known as V, the playwright who developed the vagina monologues, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer at one point. Very ill, went through a lot of difficult surgeries, chemo, a variety of things. And she said at one point, "I don't want to be defined as an illness or a stage of an illness. What if my illness is actually a process that my soul is undergoing to transform to greater glory?" I mean, that is the essence of this. Sometimes there's going to be a physical healing, sometimes there's not going to be a physical healing, but all of it can be used. Every experience in this human world can be used to the glory of God. The third possibility is, and this is again where we come back to the body and the power of the body, maybe in your mind, you're saying those affirmations and your mind is convinced. You're good. You've got the faith, you've got the belief, it's all in alignment, you're there. But unbeknownst to you, because it's usually unconscious, your body does not get it. And a lot of times what that happens, the reason that happens is because we've had some kind of trauma. So yes, I am going to talk about trauma in church because I think there is no one who gets through this life, this human life, without experiencing some level of trauma. Obviously, there's a huge spectrum. Some folks have experienced what the experts call capital T trauma, the huge losses, the diseases, the natural disasters, some real PTSD-inducing stuff. But all of us in our day-to-day life experience some trauma, and I believe what we have all lived through collectively in the last 3 years has created some degree of trauma. So what the body does with trauma is it wants safety, right? If you think about it, it's a natural thing for the nervous system. I'm going to talk a little science here for a moment. The nervous system wants safety, and to do that, it withdraws. Now, because we're all one, when we withdraw from each other, we're also withdrawing from source. We're withdrawing from God. And that creates more distance. It becomes this sort of cycle of, you want the connection, and yet you're going, no, it's not safe, I don't know. So how do we get around this? Now, there is, clearly if you have some capital T trauma, professional help is always warranted. But there are some simple strategies that we can use in our daily life that help to calm that part of the nervous system that goes into that freeze, fight, flight, or freeze. This is the freeze part, and that's where you don't want to get stuck. All of these parts of the nervous system are good. They help us respond to things, but we want to be flexible. We don't want to get stuck. So, simple practices. Actually, Linda started us off with one today, which was beautiful. Deep belly breathing. Okay, this is where we get to play along. So we're just for a second going to do this. When you do a deep breath that allows your belly to expand and relax, and you do that over and over, it stimulates what's called the vagus nerve. This is a huge nerve that runs all the way from your brain down into your belly, and that's what controls the fight or flight or freeze response. So by deep belly breathing, you're actually signaling to the vagus nerve, which then tells the brain, we're safe. So that's technique number one. Another really simple one, these are all really fun things actually to do, neck stretches. So the vagus nerve runs down the side of the neck. This muscle right here where we often tend to carry tension, we get our shoulders up like this when we're feeling stressed. So if we just do some gentle neck stretching, that also helps to tone that vagus nerve and bring us back down into that safe state. And lastly, and perhaps the most fun of all, ear massage. So just pulling, gently rubbing the outside of your ear because there's a branch of the vagus nerve that goes to the ear. This is also why sound is so healing. And so it's not that these practices are just relaxing, although that's good. But remember, they're making you feel safe, so they're allowing you to connect. So bringing this back to what the spiritual teacher Walter Starkey calls the double thread, the human and divine. How do we navigate this? Jesus gave us 2 commandments. This was a big shift from the Old Testament, right? We had the 10 commandments, we had the laws. Jesus said, no, there's 2. Number 1, love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind. That is love cause. Love source. Put God first. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all things, including healing, will be brought to you. That is the most important commandment. But then he said, and the second commandment is love your neighbor as yourself. And he goes on to say the second is like the first. Now, what does that mean? The second commandment means, if the first commandment is love cause, the second is we also love effect. We love the divine and we love the human. And when we can love both, the second is like the first, that is when we really succeed in unifying and achieving those mystical experiences that our great teachers and prophets modeled for us. So I think there's a wonderful underlying teaching in those 2 commandments that really get to this point of human and divine. And It also comes out in quantum physics, okay? In some ways, this is the best way I can think of to explain it, because the physicists were so baffled when they realized that light was both a particle and a wave, and it was neither, and it couldn't be either. And so Albert Einstein actually wrote in 1938, "We have two contradictory pictures of reality. Separately, neither of them fully explain the phenomena of light, and yet together they do. So two contradictory pictures of reality. Isn't that exactly what we are dealing with here, and yet bringing them together? So here's what Charles Fillmore had to say, really saying the exact same thing as Albert Einstein, but about spirit. He says, there's often a misunderstanding about Unity's teachings on seeing perfection or seeing the good in others. We really don't mean to see in the literal sense. We are speaking rather of an inner acknowledgement, regardless of whether or not the appearance matches the acknowledgement at the moment. So, whatever is going on in our lives, we can see the wholeness, we can have self-compassion, which is so critical in all of this, and have that sort of double think that helps us to see that both of these realities are simultaneously true. So let's take that into a moment of meditation, if you will. And just get comfortable in your seats. Close the outer eyes if you are comfortable doing that. And let's start with just generating some feelings of self-compassion. Acknowledge that sometimes life throws us some curveballs. Sometimes things get difficult. And yet, at the same time, it's all perfect. It's all God expressing itself as God through us, through everything in the world. So let's just breathe and love ourselves in this moment, wherever we are, whatever might be going on with us right now. Just knowing that we are loved, we are held. All is well with our souls. And then deepening that realization to the underlying wholeness, the eternal perfection that is here in this very moment, in every moment. When we pull away from the personality, when we pull away from the personal interests and say, it's all God. God is all there is. And God is with me and working through me. That spirit, creator, life force, whatever you choose to call it, is with me right now, in this moment. And that is good. For divine life, divine wisdom, divine power are all directed for good. And we just breathe that in with gratitude, thanksgiving, knowing that this is always true. We are always blessed beyond outer appearances, and yet while acknowledging and loving the outer experience of this perfect life. And so it is. Amen. Thank you.
Oh, I rest my case. We have a lot of talent in our group. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Thank you, Amanda. You get another go at it. Thank you for being here and for doing and sharing your gifts, both of you, with us today. Each week at Unity in Lynnwood, we offer opportunities for giving and receiving that we might cooperate with the reciprocal nature of the spiritual universe. While your giving does matter to Unity in Lynnwood, we also suggest that your giving matters to you. We live in a world of flow, and through giving and receiving, we can better step into that flow. Dr. Eric Butterworth, the Unity minister, wrote in Spiritual Economics, "Giving does not refer simply to money. It is a process that may involve money, but it also involves your work and the variety of ways in which you make contact with life. Giving is basically an attitude with which you touch things." It just made me stop and think about giving as the way we touch things, no matter what it is we're doing. Electronic giving options will appear on your screen. For those of you choosing to give a physical gift, the ushers are coming around with baskets. If you would like information about Unity in Lynnwood's programs of regular giving, planned giving, or legacy giving, please take a Giver's Circle brochure and you'll find them back at the Welcome and Information Station. Or you can write Dr. Richard directly. For those already participating in the Giver's Circle program, our program for automatic giving, we extend a special thanks. Please join me now in our giving affirmation as it appears on the screen. I give freely and fearlessly, fulfilling the law of giving and receiving. As always, your gifts are gratefully received.
Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen.
And for just a moment, I want to put you on the spot if you happen to be new, although I don't really mean put you on the spot. We love to just single out people who are here for the first time long enough to say thank you for being here. So if you are here for the first time and you don't mind raising your hand, that's all we ask. Thank you. So I'll orient you a little bit. You may have discovered that in the back of the chair in front of you are some newcomer cards. And this will explain a little bit more about Unity in Lynnwood. There is a card there for giving. There is a card there for leaving a prayer request. And help yourself to that information. If you would like to be on our contact list, there's an opportunity for us to stay in touch with you, which only amounts to a couple of emails a month. Also, I direct your attention back to the Welcome and Information Station. And if you haven't been there for a while, please come on back and take a good look. There is so much information there. The stand has several interesting free brochures that you're welcome to take. Contact for all the people that work here, and there are some announcements of things going on beyond Unity as well in our local community. So take a look. If you have a chance, I'll probably be hanging out there back after service, and if you have some questions, I'll do my best to try to answer them. I do want to also let you know, if you are new to us, and I have it right here someplace in all these papers, there is a little inspirational book. It's titled Daily Word. You are welcome to your complimentary copy of Daily Word, and you can pick that up back at the Welcome and Information Station as well. Or you can stop into our Soul Things bookstore. And I want to mention, they also have some complimentary copies of this there. You can also sign up to receive the subscription if you would like to, in the bookstore. There are lots of interesting things in our bookstore. I stopped by earlier this morning because I wanted to buy a gift for a friend, and I found the perfect thing. So stop by if you can. We happen to be having a Father's Day sale, and the scented things that are displayed on a rack on one wall are all 20% off. So swing by, say hi to Marion, and perhaps it's Kim there that will be working after service, and see what's available. I have a few invitations, and first a reminder, for everything that goes on here, we ask you to go to our website, www.unityinlynnwood.org, to register. I also encourage you just to go there, and especially if you don't hang out on your tech things so often, it won't hurt you. It's easy, it's safe, and you can push some buttons there and see what happens. And find it's kind of magic, really. Click on the calendar and it comes up. Or when you're on the calendar, you click on an event, and there you have a registration form. So do check out unityinlynnwood.org. I want to acknowledge the men that came yesterday for the men's retreat. Thank you. I hope you had a really good time, and we appreciate your service. We have several offerings by our small group ministry, and they appear now on your screen. I'll pause just a little bit so you can see what they are. And I want to announce that Unity in Lynnwood's Indigenous Heritage Committee, this is a new group that's formed fairly recently, we proudly present the first of two events. It's called Medicine Circle, and it offers songs with hand drums, rattles, bells, dances, teachings, and stories from the First People culture and spiritual practices of the Pacific Northwest tribes, called Sisiwis, I think I said that correctly. This will be led by Siswin Clay. She has over 35 years of practice and training, and there's a lot of meaning woven into Medicine Circle. This circle is open to all ages, having an open mind and heart who would like to learn by participation. The event is Saturday, July 1st at 11:30, outdoors, weather permitting. Please dress comfortably and bring a dish to share, because there will be a potluck following. If you have instruments as the ones I mentioned, bring them. If you don't, there will be some available. And this is a great opportunity for us to learn a little more about Native spirituality, Indigenous spirituality. What I've learned recently is how much overlap there is between Indigenous spirituality and Unity spirituality. Hope you can make it on that Saturday. Finally, please come together to recognize Michelle Van Eyck, who's sitting in the back row, and Stacy Bailey, who was up introducing the youth this morning. From Youth and Family Ministries, Stacy, volunteer coordinator, Michelle. These two people have worked extremely hard over 2 years, and they are graduating from the Spiritual Directors Program through Unity Worldwide Spiritual Institute. This is a very significant accomplishment, and I'm going to ad-lib just long enough to say, in my thinking, these two people were instrumental in holding us together during some very difficult times. They are always here, whether times are good or difficult, but their loyalty is unwavering. I hope you will. We would love to offer a significant celebration of this accomplishment, and it's scheduled for Friday evening, July 7th, and the reception in their honor will be hosted by Ben & Jerry's. So I think it will be fun. I'll pass it back to Jennifer.
So Let's close with prayer as we began and as is central to all we do. And I was really struck by the line in our offering song, "Let our joy be so triumphant." Let's take that in. Let our joy be so triumphant that we know without a shadow of a doubt, beyond appearance, that Spirit is living through us. That we are blessed, we are grateful, we are so deeply connected and appreciative of each other. Our joy is triumphant in this very moment. And so it is. Thank you.
May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure